And now, streaming live across the heart of Cowboys country, it's your opportunity to ask questions to Cowboys insider Mickey Spagnola. This is Silver Star Nation Interactive.
It's week 2. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Wes Moore. Mickey Spagnola is at the Star in Frisco, and you can get involved by using the hashtag AskMickey on Twitter. Mickey, we already have several questions for you today. I'm going to lead us off, though. This one's from me. Give us an update on the injury situation for the Cowboys.
How long do we have?
As long as you want to go.
Okay, well, let's start with Michael Gallup. He did have his knee scoped this morning. He had a torn lateral meniscus in his knee. Things seem to have gone well. So those things usually take 2 to 4 weeks depending on the player, the extent of the injury. So that's kind of what they're looking at right now with him. Antoine Woods, saw him walking down the hallway here at the Star this afternoon. He had a big ice pack on his left knee. He's got a sprained medial collateral ligament. They're taking that one day by day right now. They did an MRI. Normally, if it's a bad one, they've got you in somewhat of a knee brace. They haven't gone there yet with him, so it might be something that they'll just monitor and see how it goes. The other Woods on the team, Xavier Woods, does have a sprained ankle. I know it's been reported it's a high sprain, but, you know, I saw him in a walking boot, and he looked like he was walking pretty well, even with the boot on. So, again, we'll keep an eye on that. If it's a high sprained ankle, those guys normally are out 4 to 6 weeks. I would imagine he misses this game at least. Jerry Jones, when he was speaking about the injuries today, was somewhat optimistic about him. So we'll see where that one goes. You know, Tyrone Crawford, I think he irritated that hip that he's been dealing with. He only played 18 plays in the game on Sunday, so they're somewhat concerned about that, and they're trying to just kind of go easy on him to try to get him through that. So those are kind of the 4 big injuries right now, and then know that Robert Quinn will be eligible to be put on the 53-man roster tomorrow. They plan on doing that, and that means they'll need to make a roster move.
All right, our first question comes from Chev. He says, do you see any of the guys they brought in for workouts making the 53-man roster or the practice squad?
Yeah, I think normally on a Tuesday, especially early in the season, they're kind of just bringing in guys to have a kind of a ready list in case they need to do something. I think the one guy that they probably would consider of Xavier Woods' injury as long-term would be the Josh Jones, former safety with the Green Bay Packers. They were going to bring him in for a visit. You know, he played 2 years with the Packers, started 12 of 29 games, but I don't know if they got crossways with him or he got crossways with them, but he missed the final 2 weeks of training camp and 3 preseason games with a non-specified illness, and it was a non-football injury. So they released him. He cleared waivers, and he's still out there. And, you know, for a guy that's has that much experience, it's kind of strange that he's still out there. So I'm sure they're doing their homework on him to see if they need to bring in another safety. But I think what everybody, West, needs to remember is you just don't sign guys to the 53-man roster because you need a position. If you do that, you have to have a corresponding release. So, again, 53 is 53, so you got to be careful on how you manage that and who you might release, and you might not be able to get that person back onto your practice squad.
Next up, a question from Rott. He asks, is Tristan Hill ready to play?
You know what? I was told he was nearly ready to go this past Sunday. He practiced really well. They were happy with him. So if Tyrone Crawford and Antoine Woods have problems getting into the game on Sunday, then I would say Tristan Hill is ready to go. He needs another good week of practice to gain the confidence of this coaching staff, and if he does that this week, I would think that he should have earned a jersey for Sunday.
Speedway Press is going back to what you were discussing with Robert Quinn coming back, and then you got to move somebody off the roster. He's wondering, with the wide receiver, defensive tackle, and a safety hurt, could someone go to the IR? What kind of move do you see with Quinn coming back?
Yeah, I'm not sure that any of these injuries are IR worthy. We'll have to see, get a better feel. I didn't get the feeling that Michael Gallup's is, nor Antoine Woods. We'll see where Xavier Woods is, and the same thing with Tyrone Crawford. He was able to play. Xavier Woods' injury happened on the second to last play of the game. Again, he was in a walking boot, but he was usually when you're in one of those, you're limping pretty badly. He was walking awfully well in it. So I don't know if that's an IR move to recall a guy, but if you do that and you put him on IR, he's got to miss at least 8 weeks. So a lot goes into those decisions before you can come to that conclusion.
Gagoots wants to know about Taco. He asked if Taco is simply released by Dallas, and if he's picked up by another team, are the Cowboys entitled a third-round compensatory pick in 2020? If so, this is probably the way to go, and I find it hard to believe they could get anything more in a trade.
Taco Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
I don't think if you let a guy go like that, you get a compensatory pick. It's if the guy is a free agent and you don't sign him. So, and the other thing, if you let him go, you're going to absorb some dead money. He's got some guarantees. As a matter of fact, his $1.3 million base salary this year is guaranteed, and so is $480,000 of his base salary next year guaranteed. And then also, if you release a guy or trade him, so especially the proration that he left, the 2 years proration on his signing bonus, all escalates immediately into your cap. So there's a salary cap downside to disposing a guy that's still under contract. Jerry Jones was talking about it today on his radio segment. And he basically sounded like that, they're not giving up on Taco Charlton, that he thinks that he still has to work hard to get on this roster. And if Tyrone Crawford can't go, and even if Robert Quinn's back on the roster, I don't know that the first game back, Robert Quinn's ready to go 60 snaps. If he can get in and do 25 or 30, that's good. So you're going to need some guys at that defensive end position to absorb snaps. I think that they're kind of slow playing this. And just because a guy says something on social media doesn't mean the team goes, oh, yeah, okay, let's do this, right? The guys upstairs are still in charge.
Mickey, is Taco in the doghouse, or is this just a case of where they've got better defensive ends in front of him right now?
No, I think it's a case of maybe a little doghouse, but maybe more so versatile defensive ends ahead of him. Some of the guys that are backups, and even the starter, Tyrone Crawford, they can play inside also. So when they go into the game with only 3 legitimate defensive tackles, you'd probably need another guy or 2 in there to help out. Kerry Hyder, he can play defensive end, he can play inside. They can also do that with Dorrance Armstrong. So they feel like if they have more versatile defensive ends that can also play inside and you take care of 2 positions, then it's a better route to go than Taco's basically a right defensive end. But again, out of need and maybe just needing to play better. One of the things I know that they were concerned with going into actually both of these games, the Giants game and the Redskins game, was their run defense. They felt like those 2 teams would come at them with the run, and Taco needs to get better against the run as a defensive end. I think, Wes, a lot of times when we talk about defensive ends, we kind of concentrate on, well, how well do they rush the quarterback? Well, playing the run, and especially setting the edge and on that right side defensive end is very important. That's why DeMarcus Lawrence is such a good defensive end and well paid, because not only does he rack up some sacks, he's pretty good against the run. Teams have a hard time running to that side. So again, that's one thing that Taco needs to improve on.
Our next question comes from Mike Crum. Would you trade for Jamal Adams? At what price would you be interested if so?
Yeah, me trading at this point and not knowing what teams really want, I just worry about those types of things. I'm not real keen, if it's me, on upsetting my roster at this point. And just because a guy says, no, I don't like being here, well, how do you know if you trade for him, he doesn't get here and go, well, I don't like being here either. So you got to be careful with bringing in disgruntled players.
All right, you can get involved on Twitter. Use the hashtag AskMickey. Ruben used the hashtag AskMickey, and he writes, how would you deal with a disgruntled player, Mickey, if you were the GM?
Oh, if I was the GM, okay, go ahead and be disgruntled, but I've already paid you some money. I've paid you signing bonus money. Everybody acts like that money just kind of goes away. No, the signing bonus counts against the salary cap. So as long as he's not disrupting my locker room in a major way, then I think you try to work through it. He can be disgruntled on social media, right? Everybody's very bold on social media, but what are you going to tell me to my face? Do you want to talk to me? So that's the way I would deal with it one-on-one and really diminish what social media actually means.
Up next, we have Justin Sanders. He asks, do you think Donovan Wilson gets the start this week against the Dolphins in place of Woods?
No, I would doubt that. I mean, he's a raw rookie. I think if Woods can't go, Darian Thompson would likely be the starter there. At least he's been in the league. He knows his way around the block on an NFL field in a real game. I think that they would try to ease Donovan Wilson in and just see where he's at. Maybe start him off playing special teams, maybe give him a snap here or a snap there, but I don't think he jumps right into the starting lineup.
All right, we have EJ Daly Owen asks, are you at all concerned that the front four has not generated any pressure on the QB?
If there's a concern so far after 2 games, yes. They've only had 1 sack in each of the first 2 games, and that's got to get better. Now, a lot of what's taken place, especially in the second game, the Redskins were trying to get the ball out quickly because they knew that offensive line probably wasn't going to hold up for a long period of time. But still, you've got to generate more pressure on opposing quarterbacks. But again, having said that, until that last drive of the Redskins when they scored to get to 21, up until that point, so 3.5 quarters, the Redskins had only gained 185 yards. And you know what? And if I got a defense that can hold a team to 200 yards in a game, that's pretty darn good. So you can't have everything go perfectly. Wes, I think it was Monday, Jason Garrett was getting quizzed on why Dak didn't hit Michael Gallup on that deep ball. And it's like, seriously? Completed 26 of 30 passes. I don't know that there's quarterbacks out there that go 30 for 30, so every once in a while the pass might be just a little off.
He's not perfect? What do you mean?
No, and I thought he was too, right? He was perfect the second half, 14 for 14. The week before he was perfect with the quarterback rating, 158.3. You can't get any better than that. And shame on him for missing that 50-yard bomb.
I think you might like this question from Brian Broadus. How's the wide receiver by committee working? And any new offensive schemes this year? Yeah, wide receiver by committee. This ain't a committee. This is 3 starters that are awfully good. I always remind people of last year at this time. The top 3 wide receivers were Terrence Williams, Deontay Thompson, and Allen Hurns. Wow.
Now, 2 of those guys they're not even in the league, right? So again, that's what they were dealing with last year with that committee idea. It wasn't a great idea. So a much better job this year, especially with the steps that Michael Gallup took, and it's really unfortunate that he hurt his knee in the game like that. I've seen guys that have had surgery to repair torn meniscus, and they get back pretty quickly. But again, everybody's a little different. The tears are different, so we'll have to see where it goes. But with Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, along with Randall Cobb, and now Devin Smith has stepped up, they've got a pretty good foursome going right there. And I didn't even mention Tavon Austin, who's been out and still's out with the concussion.
It's been a pretty positive show, but Ralph is bringing us down a little bit. He wants to know, when do you think the first inevitable loss is? And how do you think these guys will handle it? Because they're on cloud 9 right now, but they hope they can handle a regular season loss well, and then they can keep going and gain momentum for the playoffs.
Well, I don't know that the team's on cloud 9. Maybe the fans are. The media certainly has been. But that doesn't really affect that locker room. That's why what Jason Garrett does is really the way it's supposed to be done in that locker room. You worry about, and I know people get tired of hearing it, but win or lose, you worry about this day, then you worry about this practice, then you worry about the next practice, and the idea is win or lose, just make sure you're getting better every day. And so far, and I asked him that question before the second game, and it was like, do you have to do what Bill Parcells did when one of his teams with the Cowboys that year got on a roll, and he knew everybody was getting a little too giddy, and the next morning when they came into the locker room out at the ranch, he had someone hang all these mouse traps up on the ceiling, dangling from the ceiling, and the word was, don't eat the cheese. And I would imagine that Jason Garrett hasn't got to go there with this group. It's a pretty grounded group, especially starting with the quarterback and knowing that Jason Witten's in that locker room.
Well, and just getting better every single day. That's perfect for this week, isn't it? With the Dolphins coming to town. I think the Cowboys at last check, 20-point favorite. Dolphins have looked just terrible. You know, that's a trap game right there. You overlook the Dolphins. They have NFL players. They're capable of beating you just like anybody.
Yeah. And Wes, that's why they don't post the point spreads in the locker room, right? Jason Garrett was asked about it, and he was like, I don't know anything about that. Yeah, I don't think they deal with that. I'm sure they're grinding. I'm sure the defensive coaches weren't happy with that last touchdown drive the Redskins got. So they got to improve on that. And from an offensive standpoint, I'm sure they're not happy that they went scoreless in the first quarter. And even though they ended up with 31 points, those slow starts sometimes can give the other team some momentum, especially when you're on the road, and get their fan base going, and you make it for a long day. Now, they were fortunate that they were able to get back in that game and get ahead 14-7 at halftime, and then because they deferred the kickoff, they got the second half kickoff and another possession, so you almost had back-to-back possessions. But the one thing I really have learned not to worry about this team with Jason Garrett in charge is they have never really come out and just laid an egg, like didn't come out and play hard, play the right way. They always seem ready to play no matter what the record is, and win or lose the week before or the weeks before. They seem pretty consistent, and that's what you have to do to survive a 16-game schedule in the NFL.
Mickey, great job as always. Enjoyed it. Thank you, sir, for your time. We'll see you next week.
All right, watch out for the cheese.
I'm not eating any cheese. Next up, it's Miami, noon, AT&T Stadium. That'll do it for this week. We'll see you next Tuesday for the Silver Star Nation Interactive, 3 o'clock. Have a great week, everybody.